Okay, this week we are going to focus on two really important art elements, which is line and shape. Okay, and we are also going to focus on a very important principle of design called variety. Okay, now line is anything that is linear in nature. So there's things like straight lines, curvy lines, curly lines, zigzag lines, dotted lines, dashed lines, okay, thick lines, thin lines, medium lines, okay, lots and lots of different lines. And this is something, an art element is something, it's a building block for art. So you want to think about line as a building block. It's something we use in our artwork a lot. Now shape is a two-dimensional enclosed area. So if I'm talking about shapes that I recognize like triangle, circle, square, one thing you'll notice is that they are enclosed. So it's not something that gets left open. That would be more like a line. So you'd have to actually enclose it for it to be a shape. Now shapes do not have to have, a hard edge like this. They can just be a solid shape with no outside line. But shapes are enclosed two-dimensional areas on your artwork. Now variety is a term we use a lot. You want a variety of food in your diet. You might like a variety of colors. You might have a variety of different types of people in your family. Variety is a very ubiquitous word, meaning we use it a lot to describe a lot of things. In art, it's pretty much the same as when we use it in life. Variety is going to refer to things that are different in some way. So if I want a variety of lines, here's a good variety of lines because I have ones that are straight, curvy, curly, zigzag, thick, thin, medium, broken, curved, okay? So variety can describe lines. Variety can also describe things like big versus small. Okay, so, something like a thick line versus a thin line. Okay, so thick, thin, and then, medium. It can also describe a variety of color. So you could have, a bunch of different types of color for a variety. You can also have a variety of patterns. Okay, now pattern is another great word that we're going to be using this week, because pattern describes things that are done in a certain order. So something like dash, dot, dash, dot, dash is a pattern because it's something that follows, rules. I could do a pattern of lines that just are straight up and down. I could do a pattern of wavy lines like this. And I could do a pattern of just a bunch of dots all together. Okay, so pattern and variety sort of are opposite, because pattern you're looking for things that are alike, variety you're looking for things that are not. But you could also have a variety of patterns, okay? So here I've given you a variety of patterns. I could do a thick line and then a thin line and then a thick line and then a thin line. Okay, that's another pattern, but it's got a variety in it, okay? So this should also kind of make sense that it's these terms kind of work together and work off of each other, okay? So important terms for this week. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adapting and using these terms in an artwork. And that artwork has a special name. People call this Zentangle. It's something that people do as a form of, not meditation, but just something kind of fun to just do to take your mind off of things. So it's kind of a calming exercise. And what we're going to do with our Zentangle, and you'll notice that I'm using a marker, you can use a marker. I prefer for you to use a marker. If you don't have one, anything else is fine. Pencil, pen, crayon, whatever. And you know, if you have a variety of thicknesses of marker, that's also helpful. I just have this one. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by putting a variety of shape on my paper, okay? Now that can look like a lot of things. Okay, see how I've created a shape right here, even though I didn't make a line to close it in, it still goes all the way to the edge of the paper, okay? Here's another shape, and because I've overlapped one of my previous shapes, I've created a third shape in here, okay? So notice how I am overlapping. And I am using line in a way as well, because I'm using lines to create these shapes. Okay, so I've left myself several shapes as I've broken up my paper using these other shapes and lines, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is in each shape area that I've left, I'm going to put one pattern of line, okay? So for instance, if I just pick one of my areas, like let's say I'm gonna pick this area right here, I can do a line pattern that is going to fill up the paper, but it's gonna have variety too once everything is done. So normally I would be using a ruler to make sure that these lines are nice and straight, but I'm doing a pretty good job without it, so I'm just gonna go with that. And I want you to notice that this is not something that is rushed. I'm going slowly and I'm doing careful work. Remember, one of our big art standards every time is refining work and making sure that it's carefully done. So I want to make sure that I'm going slow here. Okay, so there's one pattern of lines. Now, I'm probably not going to use this same pattern ever again on my artwork. My goal is to use a different line pattern in every single one of my areas. And I also want to make them a variety. So I'm going to use things like thick lines, thin lines, bold lines, whatever, in here. Now, if you really want to, you can change colors too. So you can do one color for each area. Just try not to do the same color next to an area you've already done. Now for this little area, I might do a pattern of dotted lines, or I could just fill it up with dots, that's okay too. Okay. Now again, you can just do this in black and white if you want. You don't have to do this in color. This is just an example. Okay, for my next one, since these lines are kind of going this way, I'm going to try to do something going the other way over here. This is a line pattern I really like to do, and it's really hard, but it's also kind of fun because I just get to be creative with it. But I'm using little tiny straight lines to create a pattern. Now, when you're doing your artwork, you're doing your own thing. You don't have to, and I really prefer that you not copy me because I want to see what you can come up with. This artwork is going to take us 2 weeks in class to do, so today we're just starting it. And then next week we are going to finish them together. So please go slow. Do very careful, slow work. Get a ruler out if you want to do straight lines. Don't cut corners, you know, we're here to make some beautiful stuff. And as long as we're taking our time and going slowly, your work is going to be awesome. Now notice how I am trying to do kind of thin little lines here. In another area, I'm going to try to do nice, thick, bold lines because I want to have a variety of lines in my artwork, okay? So I like the way that came out. That's a really fun little pattern. Okay, so maybe for this one, I'll do, use the side of my marker to kind of get some bold lines in here. And then I'm gonna kind of continue on, make sure that this goes all the way to that black edge I created, and go all the way to the edge of my paper as well. One of the things I'll be looking for if you guys do want to earn a 4 on this one is if you do carry your pattern all the way to the edge, okay? With Zentangle, a lot of times you are going to run into a corner in your artwork where, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. You know, I have thick lines here, and I have thin lines here, and I have dotted lines here, and I have this color, and this color, and this color. And it's okay, you know, it takes some practice to kind of get it so that you can have, you know, a variety of things all touching each other. If you do need to, you know, go back to a pattern you've already used, that's totally fine, but try to keep it away from what you've already done, okay? So again, you know, as we are working on this, and you'll notice that, you know, I've been doing this for several minutes here. I'm taking my time and I'm trying to get a variety going. So I might decide that this one, I'm going to kind of follow a pattern of broken lines on this one. And then maybe I'll decide that I need a big thick line in there next to it. But I'm still following a nice pattern. So just remember the tools that you have available that we talked about today: variety, line, thickness of line, type of line, shape of line, okay? And if you want to, on just a couple of small areas, if you really want to, you can just color them in solid if you want. That's okay. I'm not going to do that on a big area because I want to see more line work, but just some ideas of things to do here, okay? Now I want you to fill up this entire area, and like I said, this is a 2-week project. So you should be working on a full-size piece of paper, an 8x10 if you have one, or an 8.5 by 11. I'm using a half sheet here because I'm demonstrating and because that's what fits best in my camera. But I'd like for you to use a nice big piece of paper, and this week get at least your shapes laid out on your paper in a variety, okay? And maybe start some of your line designs, because next week we only have, we're only gonna work for about 15 minutes next week, and then I'm gonna have you guys present these, okay? And you will be graded when you hold these up to the camera, and I write down your grade in my notebook. If you want to take a picture of your completed piece and submit it on our Google Classroom, you're always welcome to do that. But if you are present in class and you do hold it up and I say your name out loud in class, you will get credit, okay? So there's 2 ways to submit work for this, is during class and then online, all right? So I'm going to continue to work on this. I'm going to speed it up so you can see what it looks like as I do all these different line patterns, and then you'll see my finished piece, okay? As a reminder, this is a 2-week project, so you should not be done with this today. You should only start. I'm showing you the project from start to finish so that you get an idea of different line patterns, and you can see that I do a variety of thicknesses of lines as well. Okay, so don't forget to experiment with that. You do not have to do several colors. You can do this all in one color or just in black and white. That's totally fine too. Next week when I see you, we will finish these together, and then I will give you credit during class like I told you during the video, okay? Get to work. Okay,